Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Sunday, June the 8th. And welcome to our commentary. Welcome to our weekly chat with our good friend, George Rodriguez from San Antonio. George, what's it like down there? Because we're about to get one heck of a storm up here in North Texas.
Very hot here. It is. Heat index was up to, I believe, 108. It's very clear. There's no indication of any, but it's very humid. It's very
well. It is. Yeah, it is. As somebody pointed out, somebody put a note. I don't know where, saying it's miserable outside. It's kind of how it felt. Like it's miserable outside. But hopefully tonight, when we get this massive rain, hopefully it doesn't create a flood, but it does clean up some of the humidity. Sometimes the rain can do that. But it's going to be raining up here the whole week from what the forecast is.
And we're supposed to get rain in the middle of the week for about 4 days. So,
oh, wow.
So
a lot of rain in Texas. A lot of rain in Texas. There's got to be a song about rain in Texas. There's got to be one. I know there's one called A Rainy Night in Georgia.
Yeah.
That one I remember. Well, speaking of songs, George, before we get started with all the serious stuff, I want you to join me in saying happy number 85 to Nancy Sinatra.
Wow.
Now, that was exactly my reaction when I saw the note today that she was 85. These boots are made for walking. You remember that, right?
I remember it. I remember seeing her on Ed Sullivan and a few other shows singing that song and wearing white knee-high boots.
Right. And in fact, some of those videos are in YouTube, and let's just say she looked really good.
She did
at that time. And then I think she even made a movie with Elvis.
Yes, she did.
Which I didn't quite remember that one. But she was extremely attractive. I'm not sure who her mother is, though. Obviously, her father is Frank Sinatra, but I'm not sure which one of Frank's spouses, she's the mother or she's the daughter of. I'm not clear about that because he was married a few times. So I don't know if this was from a particular marriage. Remember, he had another Frank Sinatra. There was also Frank Sinatra Jr.
Yeah, right.
And
he passed away.
Yeah, he did. He did pass away recently. But anyway, happy number 85 to the lady that made boots popular. These boots are made for walking. What a great song that was. That was a good song. I mean, it was catchy tune.
Well, she started a fad by herself with the go-go boots. She started the fad. I mean, she made it.
Well, all I remember is that in school, all of a sudden, the girls wanted to wear boots like that.
Boots and mini skirts.
Yeah, well, that's right. I'm not sure that she started the mini skirt, but she certainly contributed to guys like you and me enjoying them. Okay, I'll put it that way. I mean, it was fun to watch Nancy and lots of others of that time. So happy number 85. All right, well, let's get into some of the serious stuff because there's a lot of serious stuff going on. And the highlight, I guess, of the last few days is what's happening in LA. And here's how I see it, George. Just fill in or agree or disagree with me. I think that you have ICE in LA trying to do its job, which is basically they're looking for certain people. And they know who they're looking for. They're not grabbing people off the streets. They know who they're looking for. But it would make it a lot easier if they got the cooperation of the local government, either turning the guy over or getting out of the way. But in LA, because, well, we know why. The mayor of LA wants to be part of the resistance. So they're sitting there blocking ICE. They're throwing things at them. So President Trump had no choice but to say, hey, we can't tolerate this. We're bringing in the National Guard. And that's kind of where it stands right now. I think there's some order. The chaos is probably behind this. But you just wonder how long the National Guard is going to have to sit there, George, to make sure this thing gets cleaned up. I don't know. But anyway, that's my take on it. Is that pretty much yours?
For the life of me, I can't understand how elected officials, local elected officials, can justify their behavior of not wanting the removal of, first of all, illegal aliens. I mean, let's just say that. First of all, illegal aliens, people that are not supposed to be in the United States. But then secondly, the reason that they are being removed is because they have criminal records. They have repeatedly entered the country illegally, repeatedly, or they have committed some crime and they have a record. They've been tracked down.
Right.
It's not like they are driving down the road and picking people up as much as some of these liberals would like to portray it that way. That's not what is happening. That's never what has happened. The other problem is that they're picking up hundreds of people because thousands, millions crossed illegally. And you know, in a recent interview that I did on Univision, I explained it to them that you don't walk into a house and then ask permission to enter and then ask permission to stay. No. You call ahead, you ask for permission to enter, they grant you the permission, and then you come in, and then they determine how long you're going to stay. But in this case, people have come in, they are now applying to stay, and they are being vetted. And in some cases, they've been here 2 or 3 years and committed a crime in the process.
And that's the key. That's the key. I mean, I looked at a list that they published today of some of the people they had arrested or they were targeting. You know, these aren't exactly very nice people that they're targeting.
No, they're not angels.
A lot of them are involved in human trafficking with children and all of that, with women. And then there's the other issue, too, of people who get a letter from a judge, and the judge says, you didn't qualify for political asylum or whatever.
Exactly.
You have to leave the country.
And then they ignore it.
And they ignore the letter. So, well, if you ignore a letter from a judge, that's not a good thing. That usually will, I mean, it'll get you and me in trouble. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, but again, this situation is very typical in third world countries where there is no law and order.
Right.
And they have a hard time now understanding why it's happening here.
Well, yeah. Well, you import some of the problems, you know. But I think there's another factor, too, George. See if you agree with me here. I think there's another factor, and that is that these laws were not enforced for about 4 years.
Exactly.
And so you have a situation where it's like, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not a
Daddy
good
never
analogy.
spanked you for 4 years, and now all of a sudden that he's spanking you,
Right.
You're screaming and yelling that it's brutality.
Right. Or maybe another analogy or another example would be they never enforced the traffic light at the corner that you took every morning. And for 6 years, nobody's been respecting. And then all of a sudden, they're starting to give tickets. And people go, wait a minute. You mean I have to wait for the green light? Or I have to stop on the red light?
Exactly.
And they're going, yeah, you do. But you never did it before. I know we didn't do it before, but we're going to do it now. So I think that's part of the issue here
that it really is.
That enforcement of these enforcement of immigration laws was not something we were doing. And I think it really got worse under President Biden, because even Obama,
really
my gosh, Obama deported 3 million people.
And nobody said anything about that.
That's right.
Exactly.
And Bush deported a bunch of people too. So, I mean, we've been deporting people for a long time. But then all of a sudden now it's like, but I think that's it. I mean, you have people who are coming here and, you know, violating immigration laws, had no consequence. And now all of a sudden it does. And people are saying, wait a minute, you cannot arrest me for violating the law. Well, yeah, we can. And in fact, we will. Now, something else too, George, that became kind of an interesting issue, and you may have some experience with this or some knowledge of this. There is something called the Insurrection Act, that it is apparently, this is a federal law that the president can invoke. Is that the right word? Invoke? Yeah. Invoke, yeah. In a moment of an emergency. I don't remember the last time we used it, maybe when Lyndon Johnson sent in the troops to Detroit. Remember that? Back then, when maybe he used it then. It's possible that the first President Bush used it. I don't remember, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. In 1992, when you had the Rodney King riots right there in LA, it's very likely that he did use it. But look, you have to have order. Now, if this particular Insurrection Act is invoked and you're arrested, you're going to be arrested in a federal court. And that's probably not a good thing for many of these people who think they're going to get arrested on Monday and put out Wednesday.
And I would imagine that a lot of the people that are participating in these in this insurrection and these protests, as the Democrats love to call them, a lot of these are going to be because, again, LA has had a DA that has forgiven everything. Everything is forgiven. But I bet you that some of these characters are going to have records of arrests, whether they're minor arrests or major arrests. I bet you some of these characters that are citizens are going to have major problems because they've got arrest records.
Right. So they're going to find themselves in even more trouble.
More trouble.
The interesting situation is, what do you do with the mayor of LA who is openly defying federal law? Right. I mean, it does seem to, at some point, they're going to have to arrest the mayor of a city, of a big city, and say enough is enough. And I thought she was the perfect one.
Yeah, look at what they did with the judge in Minnesota or in Wisconsin. I can't remember which one of those.
Wisconsin, yeah.
In Wisconsin, Milwaukee. That helped the illegal go out the back door.
Right.
I mean, they arrested her. I think an arrest of this mayor, an arrest of the congresswoman that attacked the ICE agent in New Jersey. I think something's going to have to. I mean, the Trump administration has got to take some strong action to send a message, because we cannot. These people are the ones that scream that no one is above the law, and yet they are the ones that seem to think that they are.
Right, and the problem is that when you have a state or a city, openly defying a federal law, it's chaotic. You cannot have a country like that.
No,
I mean, you simply cannot.
You're either part of the nation or you're not.
That's right.
And if you don't want to be part of the nation, then we're looking at a situation like South Carolina in 1861.
Right. And yes, and that could very well be the. I think my gut feeling is that unless California comes to its senses, and there are some good signs coming out of California, some good candidates out there that might, the fellow running for governor. It's always going to be tough to win out there, but hopefully, I think people are so tired of what's going on. I mean, the state is a mess. Nothing is working out there. People are leaving in huge numbers, and they keep saying that they have the fourth largest economy in the world. Well, they do, but they don't have the middle class they used to have.
Yeah,
and that's a problem. So hopefully I would love to see the mayor of LA arrested.
Remember that the governor for the past 4 years has been welcoming illegal aliens.
Yes.
So, the number of people that are illegally in the United States that are living in California is going to be a very substantially high.
It is. And they also have very high poverty rates in California.
That too.
I mean, so it's just a mess out there. But anyway, you had an election in San Antonio, and you also had a march today in San Antonio. So tell me, how did the march go in San Antonio?
The march, I haven't heard the fallout yet, but it drew about 100, maybe 200 people.
So nothing like LA then?
Nothing like LA. It was organized by the Young Socialists of Texas, very proudly carrying a banner with a hammer and sickle. They were protesting. They want ICE removed from San Antonio. They do not want the mayor to allow the police to cooperate with them. They don't want the county judge and the county sheriff to cooperate with ICE. I mean, the same song and dance that you hear other places, just just lesser people.
Right.
It's going to be very, very interesting how this plays out. Now, it's going to be very interesting because we've got a new mayor that has just been elected, who is a flaming liberal Democrat, lesbian woman. I guess all lesbians are women. I guess, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I guess we have some crazy definitions these days.
Yeah, right.
I agree with you. Most likely they are.
But she was in the Biden administration. She served temporarily at the Department of Defense. We're not exactly sure what she did. she has made it very, very blunt that her administration is going to be all about resistance to the Trump administration and to the Abbott administration.
Yeah, but the difference, though, no, I mean, I've heard that too, and I think that's a good campaign that she ran there saying that. But my point is that she doesn't have as many options as the mayor of LA, and the reason is the Governor Abbott is not going to support her.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Governor Abbott will literally squeeze her out.
From what we can see, though, she will make a lot of noise,
right?
And she will deceive a lot of people. So,
yeah, well, she'll probably elect a few more Republicans.
Well, I would hope. I would hope that would be the end of it.
We
were very shocked. We were very shocked that she won. It was a very, very strong effort by local Republicans, and they still the candidate that they were backing, Rolando Pablos, lost, and the margin was 54-46, which
that's a big margin. I'm surprised.
We were very surprised by it.
I'm surprised that it was that big of a margin, because I thought, from what I had heard, that it was going to be much tighter.
We shall see.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, that because it's San Antonio, I mean, that's most of the people representing that area are Democrats anyway, so they're not going to suffer anything. But I bet that there's a lot of Democrats, kind of going back to LA for a second.
Yeah,
I bet that there's a lot of Democrats coast to coast, George, who are looking at what happened in LA, and they're looking at this crazy stuff when you got these foreign flags. That's not very smart I guarantee you that there's a lot of Democrats across the country in competitive elections who look at that and say, folks, that's killing us.
Yeah.
That's killing us, because I don't see how any Democrat in good conscience can defend attacking police officers. What we saw, and it didn't get out of hand because of the Army, but it could have really gotten out of hand. I mean, especially yesterday before the National Guard showed up, they were holding
today,
up.
My understanding that today they were burning police
cars. Yeah, amazing.
So, I mean, it's still not, in my opinion, still not under control. So we'll see.
Well, we'll see. What the next step is. I saw something about this Insurrection Act that the president could invoke, and I think Trump will, if he has to. I think if it reaches a point, he will do that. So that's we'll have to keep an eye on it. But I'm glad that the march in San Antonio was not that large, because that's about it here in Texas. I don't think there's going to be a big march anywhere else. I don't think there'll be a march in Dallas or Fort Worth or El Paso. That comes close to that.
It's just very to me. It's annoying.
Well, sure. Well, it's annoying anytime anything is organized by the socialists.
By socialists. I mean,
I'm sitting there saying, one thing about all of this, George, is that these people have certainly removed their mask. I mean,
they're not afraid.
No, they're not afraid of telling us that they are socialist.
Yeah.
And that is interesting. Well, another story of the week is that Kelmar Abergo Garcia, the gentleman who was sent, the Maryland father, remember him, who was sent to El Salvador, came back.
The innocent Maryland father.
But I was watching Professor Alan Dershowitz, and Dershowitz was saying that this guy's lawyers didn't do him any favor by bringing him back. In fact, I would argue further, George, I don't think the Democrats did him any favor by suggesting that he should come back, because there's a lot of charges against him up here, and he could end up being convicted up here and spending a lot of time up here, and then he gets deported after his jail term is over up here. So
due process is going to happen.
Well, due process is a double-edged sword, I guess.
It is.
Maybe he would have been better off with the due process.
That's why you don't play with swords.
Yes, that's right. Because I think he would have been better off just, honestly, I thought he would have been better off just staying in El Salvador.
Yeah. Well, again, they wanted him to face justice, due process in Maryland.
Yes.
And of course, Maryland is a very, very liberal state. liberal governor, liberal congressman, liberal district that he lived in, liberal county. I mean, it was gonna look good if that was the case.
Right.
But they didn't understand. They didn't recognize that he had been stopped in other places, particularly in Tennessee.
Right.
And Tennessee isn't playing around. They've just passed several laws that are very, very strict regarding illegal aliens in their state. And now, I guarantee that now some of those folks are licking their chops to get after him.
Well, he was stopped.
He was
in the middle of the night or something.
Videotaped.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there, and he was stopped with a bunch of people in his car, and the indictment
removed, with seats removed from him.
Right. Yeah, you talk about
safety. Why do you do that? Who does that?
Right. But I read. I mean, I'm obviously not a legal expert, but I've read the indictment, and it looks pretty strong.
It looks, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like the kind of indictment anybody wants to get, because it looks like a very strong indictment. And I suppose the reason they're choosing Tennessee and a rural area in Tennessee where this happened is because they feel more comfortable that he'll be convicted in Tennessee, and I think he will be.
Yeah, it was a sheriff that stopped him. I happen to have interviewed once before, a few years back, the sheriff of Shelby County, of that county in Tennessee. And that gentleman was very, very upset because they had never seen the problem with the illegal immigration that they were seeing. What they were seeing was that their what was it, I-75 or I-65, I'm not sure, the interstate that runs through the middle of Tennessee from Little Rock to the Virginia border, had become an area that was full of drugs being driven through and people being driven through.
Right.
And that was a problem in those days. My understanding from talking to another friend of mine yesterday was that it has exponentially gone through the roof because of the open border. And so, they stopped this guy and they investigated it, and they, it's not looking good for the guy.
It's not. And really, he got, again, Professor Dershowitz, who knows more about this than anybody I know.
Constitutional law.
Yeah, and he knows these type of cases because he's done a lot of criminal law as well. And he was saying that these lawyers have not done him a good job.
Yep.
And because the lawyers got all caught up in ideology, which is what happened to him. He was being used by Democrats.
Right. He was a political puppet.
He was a political puppet. The Democrats who wanted to participate in the resistance. And in this case, the resistance backfired on this.
But don't you think that liberals have a tendency to do that constantly? They want to address homelessness and they make it worse.
Well,
they want to address
I agree.
Affordable housing, they make it worse.
Well, I would go back to the case in California. I think the reason that case is that whole situation is a mess because the mayor of the mayor of LA wants to be part of the resistance. But what she doesn't know is that Trump's not going to play any games, and neither is the attorney general going to play any games. And I'll tell you something else too, who's not playing games. They have a new district attorney there.
Yes,
in I guess LA or whatever.
One who was elected exactly because the other one had let everybody get away with.
That's correct, and he's been very tough, saying, "Hey, we're not going to put up with that here." So, I mean, I don't think this is going to end up well for the mayor of LA. But I'm sure that they'll continue to be reelected.
Let's go to Disneyland.
That's right. Well, maybe we should. Yeah. But anyway, so I don't think it'll go very well for Kelmar Abergo Garcia. Right. Well, one last thought here, George. The state legislature is over. Big achievements. I'll just give a couple. I think the vouchers was pretty good. I think the property taxes was pretty good. Anything else that stands out to you?
Well, one thing that I think may be a match that's being lit here by the socialists is that one of the things that they passed was that the state will no longer give a free ride to illegal aliens. But I think Those are very, very big items. The voucher in particular. I mean, those are very, very big items.
Now, I'm glad you brought up it's actually the in-state tuition.
In-state tuition.
Yeah,
right.
In-state tuition. But that apparently, because I was thinking that a district judge would stop that, but he can't, because there was another judge above who
said no.
Said no. So, because I kept thinking, oh my gosh, some other district judge is going to stop this, but I think this is done.
And the reasoning was that in the past there was, I mean, it was a legislative,
right?
It was a legislative action that initially allowed it,
right?
And so the judge, following the Constitution, not like other activist judges, he says no, the people voted for it, it stands. But now the people voted against it, and it's over. And so hopefully there won't be another federal judge in Maryland or in California that will try to overturn the state law.
Now, speaking of that, that bill, I remember when that bill was signed a few years ago, the argument there was primarily about dreamers, right?
Right.
That these were people who had been brought here.
They were not going anywhere. They were going to stay.
Right. But the argument against it now is that it discriminated against Americans.
Exactly.
But what Americans? Because the ones here in Texas already get it. Could it be the Americans outside of Texas?
No. I mean, that's what he's talking about. The average American, the average Texan, the average Texas citizen. Many of them are denied let's say that Texas State University has a certain number of slots or some certain number of tuition awards, and 4 of them are taken up by illegal aliens. Well, and
I see what you mean.
And that bumps out, so now they're not going to be able to do that. They're going to have to say, now those go. If you're going to deny one, you've got to deny it because you're giving it to a citizen, not because you're giving it to a
So what that means is that any non-citizen in Texas cannot get the in-state tuition.
Right, they're going to have to pay for themselves.
They're going to have to pay for themselves. Okay, all right. Well,
or get a loan. Yeah, I mean, get a loan and pay.
Yeah, or figure it out. Yeah, one way or the other. That I thought that would be more controversial. I mean, it may be, but for some reason it got through the state legislature a lot quicker than I thought it would. Maybe
there was another one, and this one's going to be a lot tougher. Was one that addresses the issue of public schools,
right?
Of dreamers, of non-citizens being able to attend a public school without having to pay tuition. Historically, when I was little, I remember my cousins in Laredo used to tell me that people from Nuevo Laredo would attend the public schools in Laredo, and they would pay tuition to pay because they obviously were not paying property taxes.
Right.
And so now that issue is popping up again, but it comes along with the issue that if they are living in your district and they are paying, then they should be allowed to attend. So we'll see how that goes. You froze.
But
I lost you there.
Yeah. We had a little freezing there, but I think we're okay now. But this particular one that you're talking, a little glitch. But this particular one that you're talking about didn't pass.
No.
Or did it pass?
Didn't see the light of day.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay, George. Well, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate your getting together with us again on Sunday, and always great to hear from you. And keep us posted with what's going on in San Antonio. But I think that lady mayor is going to have a few challenges with Governor Abbott.
I sure hope
Governor Abbott has a lot of cards that he can play against her. But thanks for your time, George. And you've got a great weekend. And as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Stay dry.
All right. That's right. Thank you so much. Our good friend, George Rodriguez from San Antonio. Again, this chaos in LA is just ridiculous. I don't know how else to say it. And I'm glad that the Trump administration has taken a very tough position on it. You simply cannot have this kind of chaos. And you cannot have cities choosing to work or not work with the federal government. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. So we'll see how it turns out. My gut feeling is that it's going to settle down eventually, particularly Monday when people have to go back to work. And hopefully it'll take care of itself. But California and the city of LA really need new management. I don't know how else to say it. They really need new management because people are leaving, and they're leaving because of the kind of chaos that these crazy policies that they are tolerating have created there in LA and frankly in a lot of California. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas. And if you're in the Dallas area Sunday night, remember it's going to rain a lot and come down really bad. So you may want to stay inside and make sure the batteries on your radio are working. Sometimes we lose power when we have storms like this. Have a good day, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas.